Chapter 39. The most unsolvable thing about cultivation deviation is that everything happens inside the body. Internal strength is rioting. Meridians are disordered. Blood is boiling. Even if an outsider wants to help, in the face of this situation, they have no way to do so. It is precisely because of this that even if it is a grade 1 great grandmaster, in the face of a person who has cultivation deviation, they have no other choice but to bite the bullet and consume their cultivation base to keep the other party alive. But all of this is nothing to Signin, who has the eyes of truth. The eyes of truth can see through all qi. Everything in Abbot Huiwen's body is naturally within his observation. To save Abbot Huiwen, Signin only needs to follow the prompts of the eyes of truth. There is no difficulty at all. Bodhi Court. The court heads and Abbot Huiwen are still here. Although Abbot Huiwen has completely recovered, he is going to rest here for a while. The other court heads have 10,000 questions in their hearts, so they naturally did not leave. Abbot, did you see clearly just now which a holy monk was in the Shaolin temple? The disciplinary court head couldn't help but ask curiously. When Signin entered the Bodhi court, his appearance and figure were covered, and they only saw a vague figure. But Abbot Huiwen, as the only person who came in contact with a holy monk, is very likely to have seen the other party's true appearance. No. Abbot Huiwen shook his head. Abbot Huiwen is telling the truth and did not hide anything. He really did not see Signin's true appearance. Just now, Abbot Huiwen was shocked that he had recovered. Moreover, even if Abbot Huiwen wanted to see it, he couldn't. When the other court heads heard this, they were suddenly silent. Although they don't know why a holy monk covered his face, they can only guess that there are some difficulties. Right? More than a year ago, there was a change in the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. The seal was restabilized. Could it be related to a holy monk? The head of the Dharma court asked. As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. Although they had asked the 5A holy monk who had walked out of the forbidden area at the back of the mountain, the 5A holy monks confessed that they had been in a state of suspended animation and had never touched the seal. Besides, the seal was left behind by Toarahan. A holy monk wouldn't be able to touch it even if they wanted to. The court heads were puzzled by this matter, but they could only let it go. However, at this moment, the Dharma court's chief dean brought it up again, causing the others to fall into deep thought. All right. There's no need to mention this again, Abbot Huiwen said after pondering for a while. Regardless of whether the incident at the back of the mountain was related to a holy monk or not, since a holy monk did not take the initiative to admit this matter, it is not something they can think about. It involves the seal left behind by Toarahan 900 years ago. Its level is far beyond the limit of everyone's imagination. Time passed slowly. A year passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, heavy snow was falling, and the entire Shaolin temple was shrouded in a layer of silver sand. In front of the scripture pavilion, Signin was casually sweeping the snow. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the fist technique, Radiant Fist. Radiant Fist? Signin's heart moved. Radiant Fist is the secret technique of the Shaolin temple. It is known as the number 1 fist technique. There was a period when the Shaolin temple was besieged by many great sects. At that time, the abbot of the Shaolin temple used this fist technique to fight against several grade 1 great grandmasters alone and eventually blocked many great sects outside the Shaolin temple. The next moment, a lot of information about Radiant Fist poured into Signin's mind. After a while, Signin opened his eyes, and a trace of surprise flashed across his face. The person who created this fist technique is a great grandmaster who has undergone at least one transformation. Signin muttered to himself. The subtlety of Radiant Fist, even in Signin's view, was quite interesting. One must know that Signin has signed in at the Shaolin temple. Who knows how many divine arts and secret techniques? For Signin to feel this way, it can be seen how terrifying this fist technique is. Especially the last punch of Radiant Fist. It involves at least dozens of secret techniques. It can be said that it contains hundreds of secret techniques. Not bad, not bad. Another trump card. Signin was quite satisfied. Over the past year, Su Qin has been using Burning Heaven's demon fire to purify his internal strength and sign in everywhere in the Shaolin Temple. With the continuous purification of his internal strength, Su Qin increasingly felt the difficulty of martial Dao cultivation. In addition to this, a lot of things have happened in the Shaolin Temple in the past year. For example, the Dharma Court's head has broken through the bottleneck and became the second grade 2 martial artist in the Shaolin Temple after Abbot Huiwen. There is also Abbot Huiwen, after several months of cultivation, is preparing to break through again. According to Su Qin's speculation, this time Abbot Huiwen should not go berserk. If there is no accident, in a few years, the Shaolin Temple will have another grade 1 great grandmaster. Finally, this year, it has been the 15th year since Su Qin came to the Shaolin Temple. It's been 15 years, Su Qin looked up at the sky and sighed softly. Snow fell from the sky as if it would never end. Su Qin let the snow fall on him and did not stop it. 15 years ago, Su Qin was forced to enter the Shaolin Temple in order to avoid the enemy of the family Su. However, even Su Qin didn't expect that this time, it would be 15 years. 15 years ago, Su Qin was just a weak family Su's third young master who was not even grade 9. 15 years later, Su Qin was already able to shake the world. Even the imperial teacher of the Meng Yuan dynasty, Daoist Zhang of Wudong Mountain's true martial lineage, is not necessarily his opponent. I'm old, I like to think too much. Su Qin smiled and was ready to return to the handyman court. Just as Su Qin returned to the handyman court, a disciple found him. Zhenguan, there is a letter for you. The disciple put a letter in front of Su Qin. Although the Shaolin Temple pays attention to purity of heart and few desires, it does not prevent the disciples from contacting the outside world. After all, most of the disciples of the Shaolin Temple are not orphans. They have relatives outside. Even if they enter the Buddhist sect, it is impossible to really cut off all ties. Is it from the family Su? Su Qin glanced at the envelope. For 15 years, the family Su would write to Su Qin every once in a while, and this time was probably the same. Thinking of this, Su Qin opened the envelope and glanced at it. A moment later, Su Qin put down the letter, and a complicated look flashed across his face. It turns out that my little sister is going to get married. In Su Qin's mind, a slug that always followed behind him suddenly appeared. Before entering the Shaolin Temple, Su Qin was the third young master of the family Su. Above Su Qin, there were 2 brothers. In addition, Su Qin also had a little sister. The 4 of them had the same father and mother, and blood was thicker than water. His little sister was 7 years younger than Su Qin. She always had a runny nose, and she always followed Su Qin. It could be said that in the family Su, the one who had the best relationship with Su Qin was his little sister. In this letter, it was the news that his little sister was going to get married. In the end, I still can't see through it. Su Qin was silent for a while, and in the early morning he walked out of the Shaolin Temple. Chapter 40. Outside the Shaolin Temple. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Su Qin chose to leave the Shaolin Temple in the wee hours of the morning to avoid missing the daily sign-in opportunity. As long as Su Qin could rush back before tomorrow night, there would be no loss. It's been 15 years. I wonder how my little sister is doing now. In front of Su Qin's eyes, he seemed to see the slug that always followed him. His little sister's name was Su Yueyun, and she was 7 years younger than Su Qin. When Su Qin first entered the Shaolin Temple, Su Yueyun was only 3 years old. Now that 15 years had passed, Su Yueyun was already 18 years old. Women in this world had to get married at the age of 16. Su Yueyun was already considered old for her to wait until she was 18. However, before I go back, there is something I need to deal with. Su Qin suddenly stopped and looked up in a certain direction. 15 years ago, a great enemy of the family Su came. At that time, in order to preserve the bloodline of the family Su, all the family Su disciples were scattered everywhere. It was precisely because of this that Su Qin was sent to the Shaolin Temple. Only by entering the Shaolin Temple and relying on the protection of the Shaolin Temple could Su Qin be safe. Later on, Although the Su family used some means to force that great enemy to retreat and recover, that great enemy was still alive. Over the years, Su Qin had been busy signing in to improve his strength. In addition, everything was fine with the family Su, so he didn't pay attention to the enemy. Now, he could use this opportunity to completely deal with the enemy. According to the letters sent by the family Su over the years, the enemy's name is Yanhua. He is a disciple of the demon sect and recently became the guardian of this generation of the demon sect. Su Qin thought quickly. Because of this matter, the head of the family Su was quite worried in the letter, worried that the enemy would use the power of the demon sect to sweep over again. Demon sect. Su Qin's eyes flashed coldly. The Empire of Tang occupied a total of 18 states. Among them, Yong State was the territory of the demon sect, and the headquarters of the demon sect was located there. Within the borders of the Empire of Tang, there was a battle between the righteous path and the devil path. However, ever since the previous leader of the devil path went into closed-door training, the devil path had always been at a disadvantage in the battle against the righteous path. A few decades ago, the demon sect still occupied 3 states. But now, as the righteous path continued to suppress them, the demon sect was only left with Yongzhou. The Empire of Tang, on the other hand, turned a blind eye to the fight between the righteous path and the devil path. They had no intention of mediating. Regardless of whether it was the righteous path or the evil sect, in the eyes of the Empire of Tang, they were all traitors who did not listen to their orders. They wanted as many of them dead as possible, so how could they possibly mediate? The Empire of Tang had even fanned the flames of war between the righteous and the devil path several times. At this very moment, at the foot of Southern Sorcerer Mountain in Yongzhou, a little boy in thick cotton clothes looked up at the falling snow with a face full of excitement. "Grandpa, the snow is really heavy." The little boy rubbed a snowball and looked at an old man next to him. "It's been decades since such a heavy snowfall has happened." The old man looked emotional as if he had fallen into some memories. At this moment, a gentle voice sounded. "Is this the Southern Witch Mountain?" A young monk in a gray robe was looking at the pair of grandfather and grandson with a smile. This young monk was naturally Su Qin. The Shaolin Temple was thousands of miles away from Yongzhou. It would take at least a few months or even a year for an ordinary person to cross such a long distance. Even a martial artist would take nearly a month. But for Su Qin, it only took a few hours to go from the Shaolin Temple to Yongzhou. And this was because Su Qin occasionally stopped on the way to see if there was any place nearby where he could sign in, which wasted some time. Otherwise, Su Qin would have arrived at Yongzhou even faster. "It's right ahead." The little boy looked up at Su Qin and felt a little strange, but he still nodded and said, "There is a lot of miasma in the Southern Witch Mountain." And the little boy looked around carefully and lowered his voice. "Grandpa told me that there are immortals in the Southern Witch Mountain. If you don't have anything to do, don't go near." "Immortals?" Su Qin was slightly taken aback. But he quickly reacted. The immortals mentioned by the little boy were probably the demon sect martial artists. The Southern Witch Mountain was located deep in the demon sect headquarters, and there were often demon sect martial artists coming in and out. To an ordinary person like the little boy, those martial artists who came and went were no different from immortals. "There will be heavy snow today, go back early." Su Qin glanced at the grandfather and grandson and walked toward the Southern Witch Mountain unhurriedly. "Heavy snow? You are not an immortal, how do you know there will be heavy snow today?" The little boy whispered. Although it was still snowing, it was obviously getting lighter. It should stop during the day. How could it be heavy snow? "Grandpa, are you okay? Why aren't you talking?" Just then, the little boy suddenly thought of something and turned to look at the old man next to him. "Don't talk." The old man's face was as white as paper and his hands were shaking uncontrollably. "Grandpa, are you okay?" The little boy realized something was wrong and quickly ran to the old man's side. The old man smiled bitterly. The old man smiled bitterly and glared fiercely at the little boy. "Do you know that the two of us have already walked through the gates of hell?" "Huh? Gates of hell?" The little boy was puzzled. "Grandpa, Are you referring to that person just now? The old man's expression changed again when he heard this. He looked in the direction Su Qin left and fear flashed across his face. Don't you see anything strange? Strange. The little boy blinked his eyes. The old man sighed and stepped on the snow. Then he looked at the little boy. What is this? Footprints. The little boy said matter-of-factly. Why are there footprints? The old man asked. The little boy rolled his eyes. Grandpa, do you think I'm stupid? It's snowing now and the ground is covered in snow. If you step on it, of course there will be footprints. The old man took a deep breath and said in a trembling voice, but look at that person's path. Do you see any footprints? The little boy frowned and turned to look. The little boy's expression changed. Because everywhere he looked, there was a vast expanse of white snow, stretching as far as the eye could see. No footprints. The little boy's face suddenly turned pale as if he had seen a ghost. One had to know that the snow this year was very heavy. A few days ago, the snow on the ground was several feet thick. If an ordinary person walked on it, they would definitely leave a thick footprint. But now, the little boy did not find any footprints. There's one more thing. The old man calmed down and continued, Did you see any snow on that person? As soon as he said this, the little boy's body trembled. Indeed, when he first saw Su Qin, he felt that something was strange. But at that time, the little boy did not think much of it. But now that the old man reminded him, the little boy finally realized that whether it was him or the old man, there was a lot of snow on their bodies. This was something that could not be helped. It was snowing and they were not in the house. How could they not get some snow on them? But the young monk was different. His body, clean and tidy. Chapter 41. Grandpa, did we just see a ghost? The little boy's teeth were chattering. Sometimes, the less you know, the happier you are. Just like the little boy, he didn't know anything, so he had no fear. But now, after the old man's reminder, the little boy couldn't maintain his initial state of mind. I don't know if it's a ghost or not. But we should have met a real expert. The old man's face calmed down a little. He looked at the little boy and said, By the way, what else did that person say? What else did he say? The little boy was at a loss. He said subconsciously, he also said that there will be heavy snow today, and asked us to go back early. Heavy snow? The old man looked up at the sky and said without hesitation, Let's go back now, don't stay outside. Under the southern Witch Mountain. Su Qin stopped and looked at the first mountain in Yongzhou. Of course, Su Qin didn't know that just because he casually asked for directions, he scared the ordinary grandfather and grandson. Is this the southern Witch Mountain? Su Qin opened the Eye of Truth and looked slowly. Under the observation of the Eye of Truth, the entire southern Witch Mountain was filled with Qi-ji. The Eye of Truth claimed to be able to see through all Qi-ji. What was Qi-ji? Qi-ji was a substance produced by the intertwining of the body and soul. Ordinary people had Qi-ji, martial artists had Qi-ji, and even Arhat had Qi-ji. Qi-ji was a manifestation of a person. For example, the Qi-ji of a demon martial artist was dark and evil. At this moment, Su Qin saw that in the depths of the southern Witch Mountain, there was a large number of demon martial artists Qi-ji. It should be here. Su Qin nodded slightly. If the family Su's enemy, Yanhua, had really become a demon sect protector, he would definitely be here. The strongest of these Qi-ji is just a grade 1. Su Qin suddenly had a rough idea. Under the observation of the Eye of Truth, even Arhat couldn't hide from Su Qin. Moreover, if the demon sect really had someone at the level of Arhat, why would they be forced into Yongzhou by the righteous path? In order to be absolutely safe, Su Qin continued to observe for an hour until he was completely sure that there were no warriors who could threaten him in the entire southern Witch Mountain. Only then did he slowly enter the mountain. A moment later, Su Qin had just walked halfway up the mountain when he was stopped by someone. This is a restricted area of the demon sect. Trespassers will die. Two gloomy men blocked Su Qin and looked at Su Qin maliciously. The aura emanating from their bodies indicated that they were all ranked martial artists. I'm looking for Yanhua. Su Qin said calmly. Protector Yen? The two men looked at each other, and their expressions became much more restrained, even though they didn't know the relationship between the little monk and Protector Yen. However, Guardian Yen was one of the guardians of the demon sect. He was not someone that they could afford to offend. Furthermore, Su Qin had called Yen Hua by his full name. Just you wait. One of the men hesitated for a moment, then turned and left. Deep in the southern Witch Mountain, in a hall, more than a dozen figures were sitting cross-legged. These figures had concealed their aura. They were all martial artists in the upper realm. Yen Hua, you have stepped into the upper realm and become a guardian of the demon sect. The family Su's matter will naturally be solved by the demon sect. The man in the first position looked at the figure sitting below and said slowly, Vice Sect Master, the family Su killed my brother. The enmity between the family Su and I will not rest until one of us is dead. Yen Hua was an old man with a gloomy face. At this moment, his face was filled with hatred. If it weren't for the family Su getting close to the county governor as early as 15 years ago, I would have personally slaughtered the family Su. Yen Hua said word by word. 15 years ago, he achieved great success in demonic arts and entered the 4th grade. He severely injured the master of the Su family at that time with one move. Unfortunately, in the end, the county governor came forward to protect the family Su. The county governor was a 4th grade official of the Empire of Tang. He represented the majesty of the Empire of Tang. It was far from what Yen Hua could resist at that time. County governor? The man in the first position smiled contemptuously. When the sect master comes out, it will be the day when the demon sect will shake the world. At that time, what is a mere county governor? The man paused for a while before continuing. The matter between you and the family Su is the matter of the demon sect. However, you have to wait for a while. Now that the sect master is about to come out, the grievances between you and the family Su will be put aside for the time being. When the sect master comes out, it will be the time for the demon sect to settle the score. The man reminded Yen Hua not to act impulsively. I, Yen Hua, will naturally listen to the words of the vice sect master. Yen Hua said in a deep voice. Although he was eager to take revenge, he also knew the priorities of the matter. Now that the sect master is coming out, no mistakes can be made. As a guardian of the demon sect, at this time, if he dares to leave without permission, it will definitely be a felony. Very good. The man in the first position was obviously very satisfied with Yen Hua's attitude and nodded. This is the information about the family Su that I asked people to investigate. It records the names of 208 people in the family Su. The man in the first position flicked his finger and an envelope suddenly floated in front of Yen Hua. Thank you, Vice Sect Master. Yen Hua was overjoyed when he heard this. Since the Vice Sect Master had begun to investigate the family Su, he was obviously prepared to avenge him. And with the demon sect behind him, why would Yen Hua be afraid of a mere county governor? Thinking of this, Yen Hua excitedly opened the envelope and glanced at it. Vice Sect Master? Yen Hua frowned slightly. Over the years, I have also investigated the family Su. 15 years ago, the family Su dismissed the disciples of the clan. Over the years, although these disciples have returned to the clan, there is still one person who has not returned. Oh! The eyes of the man in the first position flashed. Who? The third son of the family Su. Yen Hua said in a deep voice. Su Qin. I only found out that this Su Qin has entered the Shaolin Temple. As for the rest, I don't know. Yen Hua looked at the man in the first position. Shaolin Temple? The man in the first position frowned, then relaxed. The world thinks that the Shaolin Temple has declined, but only the demon sect knows that there is still a grade 1 great grandmaster in the Shaolin Temple. However, as long as we wait for the sect master to come out, the Shaolin Temple is nothing. The man in the first position said indifferently. Thank you, Vice Sect Master. Yen Hua was overjoyed and hurriedly bowed. At this moment, a demon sect disciple hurried over. Vice Sect Master, there is a monk outside looking for Protector Yen. Monk? The man in the first position looked puzzled. I don't know any monks, Yanhua said without hesitation. If this monk is a disciple of the Shaolin Temple, we can capture him and interrogate him about the third son of the family Su. Yanhua suddenly thought of something and said, The man in the first position nodded slightly and looked at the demon sect disciple. Hurry up, remember, I want him alive. The rest of the demon sect martial artists looked calm and did not think that the vice sect master was wrong. Yongzhou is the territory of the demon sect. Here, not to mention the Shaolin Temple, even if many righteous sects come together, they can't do anything to them. Just as the demon sect martial artists were waiting to capture the monk and torture him to find out the details of the Shaolin Temple. A leisurely voice sounded. You don't have to do it. As soon as this voice appeared, a rolling divine sense quickly spread and shrouded the entire hall in an instant. A young monk wearing a gray robe walked hundreds of meters in one step and arrived outside the hall. Chapter 42. Who is it? The deputy sect master of the Demon Gate, who was sitting at the head of the table, narrowed his eyes. His gaze was sharp as he stared out of the hall like an eagle. A terrifying demonic aura rushed out of his body and filled the surrounding air. The faces of the other demon sect martial artists also changed. They were all martial artists in the upper realm, but they didn't notice anyone approaching the hall. This was the headquarters of the demon sect, and there were demon sect martial artists everywhere. But now, someone was at their door and they didn't even notice. This was simply provoking the entire demon sect. In an instant, all the demon sect martial artists in the hall secretly circulated their internal force, ready to attack at any time. Under everyone's gaze, a young monk in a gray robe slowly walked in from outside the hall. Monk! The demon sect vice sect master frowned. They originally thought that it was a righteous ancestor in the upper realm, but they didn't expect it to be a monk. Most of the monks in the Empire of Tang are from the Shaolin Temple. Although the Shaolin Temple is also one of the righteous sects, it has always ignored the struggle of the Jianghu. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any senior monk of the Shaolin Temple who would take the initiative to appear in the headquarters of the demon sect. Vice sect master, he is the one who just asked to see Protector Yen outside. When the demon sect disciple saw Su Qin, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Ha!" The demon sect vice sect master turned his gaze and looked at Yanhua not far away. I finally found you. Su Qin also looked at Yanhua with a smile on his face. Although the eyes of truth can see through all qi, as long as Su Qin sees it, even if it is thousands of miles away, he can quickly lock the position. But Su Qin has never seen Yanhua. Since he has never seen Yanhua, he can't quickly find Yanhua from the thousands of martial artists in the southern Witch Mountain. Therefore, Su Qin didn't immediately force his way in. Instead, he said that he was looking for Yanhua and waited for the demon sect disciple to take the initiative to bring him to Yanhua. Looking for me? Yanhua frowned. Yes, looking for you. Su Qin nodded and said with a smile, to kill you. As soon as these words came out, all the demon sect martial artists in the hall almost thought that they had misheard. Come to the demon sect's headquarters to kill the demon sect's guardian? How dare you? The evil cult's vice sect master was so angry that he laughed. He originally wanted to test Su Qin's background. After all, this monk was able to appear here so quietly, so he probably had some confidence. But now, seeing how arrogant the other party was, the vice sect master of the demon sect finally couldn't take it anymore. Die! The vice sect leader of the demon sect sneered. Demonic chi vibrated and turned into an inescapable net that shrouded Su Qin. The Demon Gate's deputy sect leader was a rank 2 martial artist to begin with. In his fury, he attacked with all his might. An ordinary grade 2 martial artist could only retreat in the face of the Demon Gate deputy sect master's attack. Even a grade 1 great grandmaster would frown. It could be said that, in the entire demon sect, other than the sect master who was still in seclusion, no one else could block this attack. However, under the delighted gazes of all the demon sect martial artists, Su Qin did not even look at the vice sect master. He casually raised his right hand and pointed from afar. Whoosh! A powerful force flashed and instantly cut through the heavy demonic chi and directly pierced the vice sect master's forehead. You! The vice sect master's eyes widened and he fell to the ground with a plop. Before his death, the vice sect master never thought that he, a dignified grade 2 martial artist, would not even be able to block a single move. Dead silence. The entire great hall fell into a strange silence. All the demon sect martial artists only felt a chill explode in their minds. In their eyes, the high and mighty vice sect master of the demon sect died so simply. In an instant, many demon sect martial artists' faces turned pale, and thoughts of retreating rose in their hearts. The people of the demon sect were selfish. At this moment, the vice sect master of the demon sect died. Not only did they not think about revenge, but they also thought about how to escape. Let's attack together. This person must have consumed a lot of energy just now. Now that we join forces, we can definitely kill him. At this moment, a demon sect grade 3 martial artist shouted, "Whoever can kill this person with their own hands, when the sect master comes out, he will definitely reward you." Suddenly, the other demon sect martial artists heard this, and their eyes flashed slightly. But, the next moment, Su Qin took a step forward, stretched out his slender right hand, and slammed it down. Rumble! The terrifying internal force continued to gather, and like a heavy hammer, it swept through many demon sect martial artists. Plot, plot, plot. At least 10 upper realm demon sect martial artists' bodies shook and turned into a pool of blood. This is... The remaining demon sect martial artists' hands and feet were cold, and they almost sat on the ground in fright. Even with the demon sect's heritage, there were only 20 upper realm martial artists. Now, under Su Qin's slap, more than half of them died. Is he still human? Suddenly, at this moment, in the depths of the great hall, a violent demonic aura suddenly erupted. "You dare to start a massacre here? Does your excellency want to fight to the death with my demon sect?" A terrifying aura rose into the sky, quickly coming from the depths of the great hall. As soon as this aura appeared, the other demon sect disciples' faces showed ecstasy. It's the sect master. The sect master has come out. Yes, before the sect master went into seclusion, he was peak grade 2. Now that he has come out, he has at least reached grade 1 great grandmaster. "Ha, you bald donkey, kneel down and beg for mercy." The demon sect martial artists instantly became confident and shouted at Su Qin. "Sect master?" Su Qin turned his gaze and looked into the depths of the great hall. As early as before entering the southern witch mountain, Su Qin knew through eyes of truth that there was an aura in the demon sect headquarters. At this time, it seems that the existence who has just stepped into grade 1 should be the demon sect's sect master. Rumble! The demonic aura filled the air. Although the demon sect's sect master is getting closer and closer, the aura of a grade 1 great grandmaster is getting stronger and stronger. Although the demon sect's sect master has just entered grade 1 and hasn't even consolidated his realm, grade 1 is grade 1. Even if it's just a beginner, he is completely above grade 2. The sect master is out? Yanhua was even more overjoyed. At first, when he heard that Su Qin came to kill him, he was still disdainful. But when Su Qin killed the vice sect master and more than a dozen upper realm martial artists, Yanhua finally panicked. He just entered the upper realm. Even the vice sect master couldn't block Su Qin's blow, let alone him? "Welcome, sect master." Yanhua knelt on one knee and said with excitement. With the strength of the demon sect's sect master, he may not be able to kill Su Qin, but at least he can repel him. At that time, wouldn't Yanhua be safe? However, just then, a voice suddenly sounded in Yanhua's ears. "I want to know, who gave you hope that you can survive?" This voice came into Yanhua's ears out of thin air. Yanhua was shocked and suddenly looked up, only to find that Su Qin was already standing next to him. "Not good." Yanhua looked shocked. "Is it him? The demon sect's sect master gave you hope?" Su Qin looked calm. Under Yanhua's incredulous gaze, he raised his right hand towards the depths of the great hall and gently patted the demon sect's sect master who was rushing over. The terrifying internal force directly smashed the demon sect's sect master into meat paste. Chapter 43. Dead Silence. Complete dead silence. All the demon sect martial artists who were preparing to greet the sect master seemed to have been strangled, their faces ashen. They never thought that there would be such a powerful person in the world. With just a casual blow, he could turn the sect master of the demon sect into a meat paste. One must know. After the sect master came out, he was already a grade 1 great grandmaster. Killing a grade 1 great grandmaster with one slap? How is this possible? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, even if they were beaten to death, no one would believe this fact. Perhaps the imperial teacher of the Mengyuan Empire, Daoist Zhang of the Wudong true martial lineage could do this. But whether it is the imperial teacher or Daoist Zhang, they are both peerless figures who have shaken the world for decades. Who is Su Qin? In the eyes of all the demon sect martial artists, Su Qin is just a young monk. Before today, they had never even heard of Su Qin. You? What hatred do you have with me? Yanhua moved his lips, looking desperate. At this moment, Yanhua knew that he was going to die. In front of an existence that can kill a grade 1 great grandmaster with one slap, how can Yanhua resist? However, before he dies, Yanhua also wants to know why he died. Although Yanhua is a demon sect disciple and has killed countless people, he has never provoked such a terrifying martial artist like Su Qin. I killed. Su Qin shook his head when he heard this. There is no need for a reason. The next moment, the light in Yanhua's eyes quickly dimmed, and his whole body fell to the ground with a plop, dead. Just kill them all. Su Qin looked at the other demon sect martial artists in the main hall. These demon sect martial artists are basically stained with blood. Su Qin's action can be regarded as completely eliminating evil for the people. If other eminent monks of the Shaolin Temple were here, they might try to enlighten these demon sect martial artists, or at least imprison them in the demon subduing tower. But Su Qin was too lazy to do so. Although he had been in the Shaolin Temple for 15 years, he did not agree with every philosophy of the Shaolin Temple. Even the Buddha had the wrath of the Vajra, and not a blind benevolence. A moment later, Su Qin walked out of the hall. At this time, many demon sect martial artists outside the hall had no idea that their sect master, vice sect master, and more than a dozen elders of the upper realm had all fallen. Don't bother with these small fries. Su Qin ignored the other demon sect martial artists. The main reason was that the demon sect's elites had long been wiped out by Su Qin. These demon sect martial artists outside could not cause any trouble at all. After a few hours, once the news of what had happened in the hall spread out, these demon sect martial artists would probably scatter on their own without the need for anyone to make a move. After losing the control of so many upper realm cultivators, the demon sect had lost its backbone and was not worth mentioning at all. Of course, the most important point was that there were thousands of demon sect martial artists in the southern Witch Mountain, and they were scattered all over the southern Witch Mountain. Even if Su Qin had the eyes of truth to lock the specific location of these demon sect martial artists, it would take at least a few hours to catch them all in one fell swoop. Once he wasted time here, it may delay the time for Su Qin to return to his family Su. At that time, the loss would outweigh the gain. It's still more dangerous outside than in the Shaolin Temple. Su Qin sighed softly. In the Shaolin Temple, although Su Qin had encountered grade 1 great grandmasters, those grade 1 great grandmasters were not like Jiuqiu Sanren, whose vitality had long declined and was waiting to die of old age. They were the grade 1A holy monk in the back mountain who used secret techniques to survive. As for the normal grade 1 great grandmasters, there was not a single one. But now, less than half a day after Su Qin came out of the Shaolin Temple, he encountered a grade 1 great grandmaster who had just broken through and was in his peak state. Although the grade 1 great grandmaster was slapped to death by him, Su Qin did not have the slightest complacency. There is always someone better than you. Today, a grade 1 great grandmaster suddenly popped out. Maybe one day, a real Arhat will pop out? When I come back from the family Su this time, I will prepare to break through to the Arhat realm. Su Qin made a decision in his heart. With the burning heavens demon fire to purify his internal strength, Su Qin's internal strength will transform sooner or later, in a few years. When the divine sense, body and internal strength become one, Su Qin will reach grade 1 perfection and truly break through to the Arhat realm. According to the ancient records in the scripture pavilion, if you want to achieve the Arhat realm, not only do you need to transform your body, internal strength, and divine sense 3 times, but you also need to grasp a wisp of qi between heaven and earth. Su Qin thought silently in his heart. Throughout the world, although a grade 1 great grandmaster is extremely rare, there will be some born in every era. There are even some peak grade 1 great grandmasters. For example, in this era, the imperial teacher of the Meng Yuan Empire, Daoist Zhang, and eunuch Zhao of the Emperor of Tang Palace are all peak grade 1 great grandmasters. But the real Arhat, or legend, is hard to come by in an era or even several eras. Why is this? Because it is too difficult. For ordinary martial artists, even if they are talented, it will take at least 100 years or even close to 200 years to cultivate to grade 1 and transform their internal strength, body, and divine sense. It must be known that the limit of a grade 1 great grandmaster is 200 years for Shoyuan. Generally, for a peak grade 1 who has reached the 3rd transformation realm, if there is no opportunity like Su Qin to forge his body with the power of yin and yang, he should be close to Shoyuan's limit. At this time, these peak grade 1s still need to patiently grasp the wisp of qi between heaven and earth in order to reach a higher level. If they can't grasp it, they can only wait to die of old age. However, all this is not a problem for Su Qin at all. According to Su Qin's guess, he can completely transform his internal strength before the age of 30. At that time, Su Qin will have 370 years to grasp the wisp of qi between heaven and earth. Under these conditions, if Su Qin can't grasp it, then the Arhat realm should not exist in this world. Besides, the eyes of truth can see through all qi. Maybe the wisp of qi needed to break through the Arhat realm is also within the observation of the eyes of truth. That's right. As the headquarters of the demon sect, this place should have the so-called Dao accumulation that can let me sign in? Su Qin suddenly thought of something and said in his heart, "System, sign in for me." The next moment, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the demon art, heavenly demon strategy. Heavenly demon strategy? Su Qin's face was surprised. The heavenly demon strategy is the supreme secret technique of the demon sect. It is known as the origin of the demon path. Many secret techniques and demon arts of the demon sect are derived from the heavenly demon strategy. In a way, without the heavenly demon strategy, the demon sect might not even exist in this world. It turned out to be the heavenly demon strategy. Chapter 44. Southern Witch Mountain. Su Qin's mind was immersed in the Sky Devil strategy. As the supreme secret of the demon sect, the level of the Sky Devil strategy could definitely be ranked in the top 20 among the many divine skills that Su Qin had mastered. Especially the last volume of the Sky Devil strategy, the Great Dao Heart Seed Demon Art. Its level of profoundness could even be ranked in the top 10, second only to the Buddha's palm, which was claimed to have been personally taught by the Buddha, and several fundamental skills mastered by the Devil Buddha. Dao Heart Seed Demon. From Dao to Demon. From Demon to Dao. Countless demon path characters collided in Su Qin's mind, constantly merging and refining. An hour later, Su Qin slowly opened his eyes. The Great Dao Heart Seed Demon Art is indeed worthy of its reputation. Monstrous demon intent faintly appeared in the depths of Su Qin's eyes, but all the demon intent was immediately suppressed by a giant golden Buddha. Unfortunately, the demon path is not the path that I want to walk. Su Qin shook his head slightly. Even if it was the fundamental skills of the Devil Buddha, Su Qin only comprehended them for reference, not as his main skill. It's about time. Su Qin looked at the sky, took a step, and disappeared on the spot. Zhangzhou's Yen City. Yen City was an inconspicuous small city in the Empire of Tang, but today, Yen City was extraordinarily lively. The streets were decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Other than that, martial artists who were rarely seen were now seen every few steps they took. Because today, the daughter of Yen City's family Su was getting married. The family Su was the largest family in Yen City, and Patriarch Su Shiming took the opportunity to invite heroes. Many sects in Sangzhou's martial arts world were willing to give face and come. After all, Su Shiming was not only the patriarch of the family Su, but also a rank 5 martial artist. Perhaps in the Empire of Tang, a rank 5 martial artist was nothing, but in this remote Sangzhou's martial arts world, a rank 5 martial artist was definitely a powerhouse. There was an endless stream of martial artists entering and exiting the Su residence. The family Su was rich and overbearing. They invited all the heroes of the Tsang province. As long as they came to congratulate the daughter of the family Su, they would be able to enter the Su mansion and drink a cup of wedding wine. Of course, the wine was secondary. Many martial artists also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to gather. At this moment, inside the Su residence, countless warriors from all over the Zhangzhou kept talking. A monk like you can drink? At this moment, a boorish man looked at a young monk who was about to pick up a wine cup and joked. The boorish man didn't have any other intentions. At this moment, the Su residence was filled with all sorts of people. Whether or not this young monk was a monk was another matter. A monk? The young monk smiled. This young monk was naturally Su Qin, who had hurried over. Buddha never said that monks are not allowed to drink. Su Qin glanced at the boorish man and said casually. Hearing this, the boorish man pondered for a moment and actually felt that Su Qin's words made some sense. Monks abstained from meat and drink, but from the beginning to the end, there was no source for these rules. No one could prove that these rules were said by Buddha. Since Buddha didn't say these words, why should they abide by them? You're quite an interesting monk. The boorish man grinned and said. He had traveled extensively and had met countless people, including many monks. However, all the monks that the boorish man had met were extremely old-fashioned. Su Qin was the first one who was as carefree as him. Su Qin ignored the boorish man. He looked at the wedding wine, placed in front of him, and gently picked it up. He paused in a certain direction in the depths of the Su residence for a while, and then drank it in one gulp. Little sister, long time no see. At the same time, in the depths of the Su residence, Su Yueyun looked disappointed. Third brother didn't come? Su Yueyun couldn't help but ask. The patriarch of the Su family, Su Shiming, shook his head and said, the rules of the Shaolin Temple are strict. I can only send the news in the form of a letter, but whether Qin or can come out or not is not up to me. Su Shiming sighed softly. 15 years ago, family Su's great enemy, Yanhua, came and seriously injured him with a raise of his hand. At that time, Su Shiming thought that family Su was about to be destroyed, so even though he knew that it was easy to enter the Shaolin Temple but difficult to come out, he still forced Su Qin to go in. After all, it was better to be a monk for a lifetime than to die in the hands of that great enemy. But Su Shiming didn't expect that he would meet the Zhangzhou county governor later. The county governor was quite appreciative of him and directly came out to force family Su's great enemy to retreat. It's all my fault for not thinking it through. Su Shiming sighed softly. How could he have thought that the Su family would be able to survive that calamity? In the Su residence, many martial artists were chatting happily. Su Qin, on the other hand, sat silently in his seat. 15 years had passed and things had changed. Even if he stood in front of Su Shiming, he might not be able to recognize him. Do you know that family Su still has a third young master? At this moment, the rough man next to him whispered, Third young master? The surrounding warriors were puzzled. They had only heard of family Su's first young master, second young master, and the daughter. As for the third young master, this was the first time they had heard of him. Hee. You don't know, right? The rough man said proudly, This is something that happened 15 years ago. The rough man's words immediately aroused everyone's curiosity. They all began to ask questions. The rough man didn't put on airs and directly said, 15 years ago, Family Su encountered a great disaster. After this disaster, Family Su's third young master disappeared. No one knows where he went. Even Family Su's disciples are afraid of this matter. Speaking of this, the rough man looked around and lowered his voice. I guess that Family Su's third young master should have died in that disaster 15 years ago. Otherwise, why hasn't he appeared after so many years? The rough man's analysis was reasonable. The other warriors immediately nodded secretly. Even Su Qin looked at the rough man a few more times. Monk, do you think what I said makes sense? The rough man seemed to have noticed Su Qin's gaze and looked at Su Qin with a grin. It makes sense, Su Qin said seriously. Suddenly, at this moment, there was a noise at the entrance of the Su residence. The groom is coming. A voice rang out, and the gazes of many cultivators immediately gathered at the door. They wanted to see what kind of person could marry the daughter of the Su family. So, under the watchful eyes of everyone, a man in a groom's suit strode in. This man's facial features were ordinary. Although there was a hint of nobility in his gestures, he was just an ordinary person. What? The man that Family Su's daughter is going to marry is not a warrior? Countless people looked at each other and only felt that it was incredible. Family Su was a martial arts family. Even the guards in the residence were warriors. Family Su's daughter, Su Yueyun, was also ranked. But now, they saw that the Family Su's son-in-law was actually an ordinary person? Just as everyone was talking about it, Su Qin also looked at the groom. This is? Chapter 45. In the Family Su's mansion, there was an uproar. Many martial artists were discussing in disbelief. Quiet down. Su Shimin stood up and raised his hand. The aura of a rank 5 martial artist appeared. Suddenly, everyone fell silent. Although they did not know why the Family Su would choose an ordinary son-in-law, since Su Shimin had made this decision, it was not something they could interfere with. Among all of them, only Su Qin had a strange look on his face. The fate of the nation? Why is 1/10 of the fate of the Tang dynasty gathered on him? Su Qin observed all the auras with the eye of truth. Naturally, he noticed that there was an unfathomable fate of the nation hidden on the groom. The Emperor of Tang is not dead, so the fate of the Tang dynasty will not dissipate. Besides, even if the Tang dynasty is destroyed, the fate of the nation will be entrusted to the Emperor of Tang's family. Su Qin's thoughts fluctuated as one thought after another flashed through his mind. From the letter that the Family Su sent to him, he knew that the person his little sister was going to marry was just an ordinary person. A real ordinary person. He had no parents. Although his family background was clean, compared to the dignified Family Su, it was like heaven and earth. Logically speaking, the two of them should not have any interaction at all. But his little sister was willing. Therefore, even if Su Shimin did not agree, he did not force his little sister. Originally, Su Qin also thought that his brother-in-law was just an ordinary person. Su Qin did not resist this. Having lived 2 lives, Su Qin was very open-minded. As long as his little sister loved each other, it was fine. But now, Su Qin's gaze kept sweeping back and forth on the groom. Such a huge fate of the nation is no longer something a prince can bear. Su Qin thought in his heart. A few years ago, concubine Li and her daughter of the Emperor of Tang's palace came to the Shaolin Temple to avoid disaster. At that time, Su Qin had also used the Eye of Truth to observe imperial concubine Li's daughter. The little princess of the Empire of Tang also had strands of the fate of the Empire of Tang, but compared with the current groom, it was no different from a small river and a vast ocean. Now that the Emperor of Tang is in the old age, all the princes are fighting both openly and covertly. All of them are eyeing the throne. The various dukes and vassals all place their bets, openly and secretly supporting a certain prince in exchange for the merit of ascending to the throne. Everyone in the court believes that the one who will sit on the throne in the future will definitely be one of the princes. Su Qin's train of thought became clearer and clearer. Now it seems, The Emperor of Tang, that old fox, never thought about letting those princes inherit the throne. Su Qin looked at the embarrassed expression of the bridegroom and felt that everything was laid bare in front of him. Only the royal family could bear the fate of the nation. Although Su Qin did not know why the groom in front of him appeared in Sangzhou. But the blood of the royal family must flow in his body. And the Emperor of Tang obviously already knew about this prince who was wandering among the commoners. Otherwise, an ordinary prince could not have such a huge fate of the nation. And the Emperor of Tang went to great lengths to hide it from everyone. There was only one possibility. He wanted to pass the throne to him. In other words, if everything went smoothly, the groom, who was currently submissive before the eyes of many cultivators, would soon become the Emperor of the Great Tang, who stood above everyone else. Fate makes fools of people, Su Qin sighed in his heart. There were hundreds of millions of people in the Tang dynasty. Not only did his sister meet the prince who was wandering among the commoners, but she also secretly fell in love with him and even married him. The Emperor of Tang probably did not expect this to happen. Or even if the Emperor of Tang knew, he would not care. Since all of this was done by the Emperor of Tang, then there must be something left by the Emperor of Tang nearby. Su Qin opened the eyes of truth and looked in all directions. Sure enough, a few miles away, there was a faint aura hidden. This aura was similar to Eunuch Hong, but much stronger than Eunuch Hong. Grade 1 Great Grandmaster? Su Qin shook his head slightly, and his eyes fell on the groom again. He should not know his identity. Su Qin thought silently in his heart. The Emperor of Tang deceived everyone and paid such a big price, so he would definitely be cautious. And at this moment, the groom stood together with Su Yueyun, ready to bow to heaven and earth. Yun Yang. The groom looked at Su Yueyun and said firmly, I know that I am just a poor scholar and have no ability, but I, Li Xing, swear that one day you will not regret marrying me. Su Yueyun pursed her lips and smiled, but did not speak. Su Qin looked from a distance, and after confirming that his little sister really liked him, he looked away. Just when Su Qin was about to leave, he felt something and looked at several corners of the Su residence. In these corners, there were more than a dozen martial artists operating their internal strength to the limit, ready to attack at any time. Assassination. Su Qin frowned. These more than a dozen martial artists were all in the middle realm, and 2 of them had even reached the upper realm. Are they targeting the family Su? Su Qin narrowed his eyes slightly and found that the target of these martial artists was not anyone in the family Su, but the groom. Did someone notice the hand of the Emperor of Tang? Su Qin guessed in his heart. It should be just a faint detection, not a confirmation. Otherwise, it would not be an upper realm cultivator, but a grade 1 Great Grandmaster. At this time, bow to heaven and earth. The bride and groom were about to bow to heaven and earth. Suddenly, at this moment, a piercing killing intent broke out and swept through the entire Su residence. A strong man suddenly jumped up and rushed toward the bridegroom. Bold! Su Shiming was furious. He specially invited the martial artists and took this opportunity to show the strength of the family Su to the Sangzhou martial artists. If it was obstructed and destroyed, wouldn't he lose face in Sangzhou? Just when Su Shimin was about to make a move, another cold killing intent locked onto him. This is upper realm? Su Shimin was stiff, he couldn't believe it. He never dreamed that it would cause an upper realm martial artist to make a move. Under the upper realm's killing intent, Su Shimin felt his heartbeat almost stop. Even moving was extremely difficult, let alone stopping the assassin. Not good. Su Shimin's heart trembled. At this moment, the other family Su martial artists also reacted and quickly rushed to the high platform, wanting to protect the bride and groom. Die! Several more figures burst out, and several family Su martial artists who were ready to protect the newlyweds flew out in an instant. These family Su martial artists fell to the ground and fainted. This scene suddenly awakened everyone on the scene. Assassins with this kind of strength? Who did the family Su offend? Many martial artists trembled in their hearts and began to flee. In the face of disaster, everyone fled. They just came to congratulate the family Su, not to sell their lives for the family Su. If the assassin wasn't strong, these martial artists wouldn't mind making a move in exchange for a favor from the family Su. But judging from the situation on the field, this group of assassins was simply terrifying to the extreme. If they dared to stop them, the several family Su martial artists who fainted were an example. You, go quickly. At this time, the groom Li Sheng obviously realized something and pushed Su Yueyun away. If we die together. Su Yueyun tightly held the groom Li Sheng's arm. In an instant. At this moment, the assassin was already 10 meters away from Su Yueyun. With the assassin's speed, this distance was almost gone in a flash. Why do you have to do this? On the high platform, the groom Li Sheng smiled bitterly, looking at Su Yueyun who was holding his arm tightly. It's over. Not far away, the upper realm assassin who suppressed Su Shiming to the point that he couldn't move slightly nodded. At this moment, things were almost a foregone conclusion. He didn't even have the need to continue watching. For a small family like the family Su, wanting to stop them was tantamount to a fool's dream. Just when the upper realm assassin glanced at the groom Li Sheng who was waiting for death with his eyes closed and was about to turn around and leave. A soft sigh resounded in his ears. Who is it? The upper realm assassin was startled and looked up abruptly. However, with this look, he saw a scene that he would never forget for the rest of his life. He saw a faint golden glazed light appear, accompanied by the spreading of the Buddha's light. The upper realm assassin saw a hazy figure coming over. This hazy figure was shrouded in Buddha's light, illusory golden lotuses slowly bloomed, and the sound of Zen filled the air. It was heavy and solemn as it walked over step by step. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, Martial World, and tales of demons and gods.